So how does someone start a business? Is it just like, okay, I'm just going to go out and do something, or I'm going to start a winery and grow grapes? Or where do most people come from with that? Do they have an idea, I guess, firstly?
Yeah, look, really good question. So most people don't have an idea, to be perfectly honest. I'd say maybe 2/3 of people I talk to don't really have an idea of what they could do. And I spend a lot of time trying to help them figure it out for themselves. So I don't want to be the person to say, hey, Geoff, I think, so you were an architect. Have you ever thought about doing an online architecture course? Because that might not be anything you're interested in. Do you know what I mean? And I don't want to pigeonhole you in any one area. So we tend to talk about things like, well, what are you interested in? You know, where are your passions? What do you read? What do you talk to your friends about? What do you Google or research online? You know, when you go to a family barbecue or something like that, what are the topics of discussion that come up? And you'll be amazed. Or what sports do you follow? And I've got a whole list. What I've done over time is make this list of things that people can associate with. And if you just work through this list, what it'll do is flush out everything that's within you on paper or on a spreadsheet or something. And then you can look at it and you can go, I like these sort of things. I spend a lot of time here. I research these topics. And maybe after you've done that kind of exercise, you can draw some parallels and you can start to see hidden connections, you know. And obviously when you're doing this for yourself, it's quite hard to figure it out because you're very biased. But when a third person, like say myself or you, look at it, we can immediately go, wow, hey, stop, hold everything. You just mentioned something really important. Have you ever gone back to that? Or have you ever taken that up again? And someone will say to me, oh, look, I haven't really thought about it, you know, and right there is an opportunity that they hadn't thought of, perhaps. And so it's a case of unlocking people's potential, because it's really hard to unlock your own potential. And sometimes a third person can do it for you. I don't know, you're an ideas man yourself, Geoff. You know, I know you help people with this sort of thing. How do you do it?
Well, I tend to follow a similar path. I think you're not leaping from the known to the unknown. You're not going from Earth to Mars. You're kind of just going to the next suburb, ideally. Yeah. You're building on what's there, and you're making an incremental step to the next something. I think that's the key, because otherwise it's like, so when I quit architecture, for a long time, it was like all or nothing. I was architect, not architect.
Yeah.
And it took me probably 10 years before I started to say to people, oh, I'm the ideas architect. And it literally came out of my mouth one day, because for me, I didn't stop being an architect because I was always designing things. But I always had it that I'd stop being an architect because I stopped designing buildings. But when I realized I was still thinking like an architect, that actually made sense. It was kind of, all that education I did wasn't a complete waste, because it gave me design thinking tools and all that sort of stuff. And I could literally apply that to anywhere.
Yeah.
And any situation. And I think that was the key. I didn't throw out everything, but I grabbed a certain piece of what I did, and that was what I was able to bring forward. And that's kind of what I look for. It's like, okay, you got all this. Some of this is not going to be relevant. We've got to get rid of that bit, but we want to keep that bit, just tweak it a little bit, and then you've got something.
Yeah.
Obviously, the art of that piece is which bits do you keep and which bits don't you. But I think your process is about right, that it's like engaging with the person, what's the interest, and trying to match up something with that works internally for them, but also is arranged in a way that other people actually need it. Correct. So if I'm interested in, I don't know, cuckoo clocks, and no one else on the planet is, well, that's not going to work much.
That's it.
So it's kind of that bridge between what is the thing they've got and who's actually going to want some version of that. And it's often not far from what they're already doing. It's just not the same. We wouldn't call it the same thing. A bit like me. I'm no longer an architect in the sense I don't design buildings, but I'm still designing things. Yeah. And that's the key piece for me. I'm a designer. And once I got that, it kind of went clunk. I can actually, and then I started designing board games and information products and all the like. So that was kind of the key. What's that essence of what you do? When some of the surface expressions of it, because here's the other trick for me. So I got caught up because I was interested in a lot of things, and everyone tried to pigeonhole me. But what I realized was I'm actually a process person. Design is a process. So therefore, I could actually apply that to lots of different situations. So if you looked at the situations, it looked like I was dancing around to a lot of things. But the reality for me, I was just doing the same old thing. I was just designing things and coming up with different opportunities. It just happened to be one was a strategy, one was a book, and one was a board game. Didn't make any difference to me, but it looked weird to everybody else.
But there would have been a common thread across all three.
Yeah, that's the key. Yeah. My big one that I'd recommend to everybody is going to a strengths profile. Have you done one?
Yeah, look, I do a few things. We played around with DISC. One of the things I came across about 1.5 years ago was this thing called human design, which also looks at your internal makeup and where your strengths are, like you just said. And what are your gifts? You're born with these gifts, right? Now, some of us, we go through a lot of our life and we don't actually unlock them, or we don't realize what they are. Other people tell us, hey, you're really good at this, Geoff. Geoff, did you know you're really good at this? And you have a way of saying things, or you have a way of doing. And sometimes we got to pay attention to what people are saying, because they're giving us very good feedback. Because you might have studied architecture or I studied engineering doesn't mean we were born to be engineers or architects for the rest of our life. But when you hear this feedback from other people where they say, hey, you're really good at helping solve problems, or did you know you just make things sound so much easier? And these are real golden nuggets which we forget. We tend to suppress it, or we go, oh, Geoff, like, come on, you're just saying that or whatever. But you'd be surprised. And I often, when I talk to people about this, it's also, whatever idea you decide on, you want to make sure that you're 100% congruent with it, so it's authentic. Because I might have an idea where I could sell shoes on Amazon because they're the latest shoes and everyone wants it, and I can make $1 million. But is that who I am? Is that how people are going to, when people look at that, are they going to go, yep, that's Gavin, or that's, in alignment, or is he just doing this to make a buck? And I guess at the end of the day, you have to make that decision for yourself. So when I talk to people about starting their own business, they already know they're busy people. They have a full-time job. They've got commitments, family, all of this. If you're going to put any extra time into this, make sure it's worthwhile. Make sure that you're comfortable with it. You can go to bed at night knowing that you're doing something that you're in alignment with. And like you just said, is going to solve a problem for someone else, or provide a solution or something that doesn't exist. You kind of want to make the world a better place in a way, and if you're simply just going to sell a product for the sake of selling a product, you're not really going to stand out in this economy. I think the people that stand out are the ones that do things a little bit different and just try to make things easier for someone else. That's how I see, the successful businesses moving forward.
And I think the other side of that is, if I'm not really committed to it, I'm not going to stick at it either. So if he actually described what he was going to make to the right person, the person would say, I either want one or I don't. And if he says he wants one, it's like, okay, well, what would you need to do to make one?
Yeah, 100%.
Steps, not a big jump.